Intro. Hi, I'm Jason Travis, and welcome to my VSCO Creator Session. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a photographer, a director, an artist, a musician, a husband, a father, and a human living in Los Angeles, California. My aesthetic relies heavily on my graphic design roots. Color, composition, organization, exploration, how I look at the world. My background all plays a part in the work that I make. I've always been interested in ideas. Ideas are king in my book. I'm always looking to make something that has an interesting and unique twist. Photos and artwork that is eye-catching and compelling, and as you'll see, that's a connection throughout all my work. For this session, I'm going to discuss a couple of my personal projects, some commissioned work, the cameras I use, my VSCO workflow, and how I stay inspired. Let's hit it. Personal projects. United Hairlines. In 2022, I released my first solo record called United Hairlines on Sugar Records. This was an absolute dream project, something that I had wanted to make for years. And while I had played in bands and collaborated with other musicians, I put out an EP. This was the first time I worked on a fully cohesive album that had many layers to it. I realized that with music, especially my own music, there's so many opportunities to create visuals that accompany the music. Photography, video, illustration, documentation, it's pretty endless. So I'm going to take you through some of the things that I made that accompany United Hairlines. First off, I documented the entire process with photos and videos from the studio. I also created a theme that went along with the record, and this theme was loosely tied in with another project that I was exploring, photographing people in my uniform, my hat and glasses and jacket. This is what I was considering my work uniform at the time. And it just took on a bigger life once I started photographing people in it. Photograph friends, acquaintances, family. And it was just sort of fun to see other people in my look. And it just became the whole theme of the record, my work uniform. I am everyone, everyone is me. And so I shot maybe 75 different people in my jacket and glasses and hat. And it was really fun to have conversations while I was doing this. And it became just a huge component of the zine that I put out that accompanied the record, the lyric book. You know, it was fun to photograph myself doing different things in the jacket. I included those as part of the album artwork, in social posts, and just kind of across the board. I knew that I wanted to be wearing this uniform on the album cover, but I wanted to be just a small part of it. And I wanted the record cover to have this sort of hyper-real, perfect California suburban look to it. I knew that I wanted to use my friend Dan's car, and my initial thought was to photograph the record from ground level. I photographed it from the drone, sort of a bird's eye view as well, and that became the album cover. We made tapes, also made promo videos to promote the tape, and here's some shots of the zine. The whole theme was a little bit of this work jacket, but it was also mixed with being able to showcase photography of my daily life in California and Los Angeles. Another component of the record was also making the merchandise that would go along with the record. And this is something that I've done in the past for other brands, but I wanted to make something that I would really want to wear or have. And so one of the first things I made was this Etc. hat, which is one of the song titles. I made a tote bag, and the tote bag was an illustration I made. And like other projects, I take inspiration from all around me. Other things that I like, films, basketball, nature. And this was another fun component. I could photograph the products that I made. Lastly, I wanted to make a music video and a website to accompany the record. The video was a slightly bigger undertaking than I had imagined. The website as well. But I just savored the process, and there was no time constraint on this project. So I got to work on the video. I did a few different tests before I landed on the actual filming process. It was tricky to work out. I had to do some math, but I had so much fun filming this video. And again, I'm wearing the work jacket in the video. I gathered a lot of friends of mine to be a part of it, and I created 6 different scenarios that I walked through. while singing the song. Here's some behind the scenes shots from the video. And here's what the website looks like, where I was able to accrue all of the different assets and showcase them. And you can check that out online. I'll put the link right here. The Photographic Journal. The Photographic Journal is an awesome website with photography essays, interviews, and more. And it's been a great way for me to showcase different photo essays I've made over the years. In 2020, I was the photographer in residence, and I created one photo essay each month. A photo essay for the Photographic Journal usually consists of a theme, about 25 to 30 pictures, and a written component where you describe your idea and what went into the photo essay. Each time I try to do something different, and I try to push myself and use it as a sort of platform to work on something new. So generally, I'm looking to collaborate with a few people on each photo essay. Usually a model, a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a wardrobe stylist. I'm looking for interesting locations. I'm thinking of different lighting ideas. For me, it's just a way to explore and experiment and try new things. So last year, I worked with my friend Jessica, who's a dancer, and I wanted to play around with a couple different locations, different lighting styles, different wardrobe, and also some ideas that I had been planning. I also wanted to have some materials that I could work with in post. I love collaboration, and there's really no loss in trying things out. For the next photo essay, I worked with another friend named Stephanie, who's also a dancer, and I used different locations. I had a wardrobe stylist named Drew that came along. This one was so fun because I tried other new things too. I used my drone. I had a lighting assistant named Chris. I just wanted to push this one a little bit further. We also worked in studio and outdoors to have lots of different looks and feels that went along with this essay. With my most recent essay for the Photographic Journal, I wanted to bring a little something from the last two, but incorporate something new. I brought in the last two models, Jessica and Stephanie, and then included a third model named May. Now this is something I hadn't really done before. I didn't really want to go with naturalistic poses on this. I wanted to utilize the wardrobe, the suits, the colors, and it was a really fun day to be able to experiment. I had a wardrobe stylist named Megan, I had a makeup and hair stylist named Rebecca, and we just played. And I think you really have to take time to yourself to make something personal and creative, to push yourself in other ways. And that's exactly what this essay was. It was a way to experiment, explore, try new things, and I learned a lot from it too. I think it's great to keep pushing. One thing leads to the next. Go with your gut, go with your instincts. I also use my camcorder throughout the day to lighten the mood and capture some of the silliness. VSCO workflow. VSCO is my favorite go-to photo editing app. I've been using it for years, and I just feel an ease while I'm editing in VSCO. I post my photos and I'm not precious about it. It feels kind of like a sketch pad. It feels low pressure. Sometimes I use it for a more drastic effect, and sometimes it's more for subtle editing. So here's 3 different photos and my workflow with them. A lot of times when I'm walking around the neighborhood, whether it's with my dog or my daughter, I'm always got an eye out for something that's interesting. And one of the things that I've been fascinated with is cars and how people repair them on their own with some tape. And I'm usually snapping pictures of this. Here's one here, and I really like the blue tape on here. I have my favorite filters in a folder down at the bottom. This is SS1, which helps with the vibrancy and the accents. I usually add grain to every photo because I feel like it gives it a nice subtle texture that works well on social media. This photo, I want to add a little contrast. I'll usually bump the shadows a bit. Finally, I'll go into the HSL setting so I can target a specific color. And I'm targeting the blue here, and I'm going to bring down the lightness, bring up the saturation. And that way, it just gives the whole thing a nice pop. So for my next photo, I have a picture I took of a bottle of sanitizer at an old restaurant with my iPhone. I just took this with a flash. And immediately I see that there's like a playfulness and a warmness to this photo. And so I just want to enhance that a bit. I found this chromatic C3 setting that I like, and I saved it in my favorites. And it gives it a little bit more contrast, a little bit more color. I think I might try again and play with the HSL settings and target the orange this time. Really bring out that orange saturation. Bring down the yellow a bit. You can see that yellow and the lightness kind of pop some. Play around with the red a little bit, all the warm tones. And I'm going to add some grain to this one, like I do in my other photos. I'm going to play around with contrast just a bit. And then lastly, I think I'll bring the exposure down just a little bit on this one. So that gives it a nice bit of pop and contrast and color. The third photo I'm going to edit is this photo I took on my Canon Mark IV of my friend Sarah in Malibu. I marked this AU5 setting, which I really liked. It's in my favorites, but it's a little intense, so I'm going to bring it down some, maybe like half. Next, I'll go into the tone. I'm going to bring up the highlights so we don't lose any of the sky. I'm going to bring up the shadows so we can see a little bit more of the rock. I'm going to add some of that grain that I love so much. When you zoom in, you can really see kind of what that grain adds. Just gives it a really nice retro feel. And then I think for this one, I'll also go back into HSL. Adjust that yellow on her outfit. I think I want to make it brighter and more saturation. And then let's go ahead and take the blue and give that a little bit more of a hit too. So that's my workflow with this image, and as you can see, it really gives a lot of life and color and lift. Cameras. So this is the main camera I use right now. It's a Canon R5, and I've been using Canon my entire career. This camera is great because it shoots stills and video at a really high level. I also love to take a little point and shoot camera on set. This is just a 35mm L35 AF. This one's actually a Nikon from the 80s. Another camera I like to take on shoots is this little Instax camera. A lot of times I'll take little portraits or behind the scenes that I don't take with any other cameras, so it's a little surprise later. I shoot a lot on my DJI drone. I've had a few of these, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I have broken quite a few of them. And it's just a great way to get a different perspective on the world, and I've always loved shooting with the drone. This is the DJI Mavic Pro 2, I believe. It's a couple years old. I also love shooting on the iPhone because it's a camera that's always in your pocket, and what could be better? Persona. So I wanted to touch on another personal project that gave way to a lot of commercial work, and this was my project called Persona. I started this straight out of college, and it was a way for me to get better at photographing people and taking portraits. And I was also interested in what people carried in their bags. So I combined the ideas, and it became more than just photographs for me. It was a way of interacting with people and sharing a moment and learning about them. So it was something I just kept doing, and I photographed people for years. I've shot over 550 people this way. Eventually, I was hired by CNN to photograph people at the South by Southwest CNN restaurant. And then that led way to organizing items and product for other brands. Commissioned work, organized objects. One of my favorite assignments was organizing or knolling product for Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. These layouts take days sometimes, and it's all done by hand. And I've worked with other brands, like in Los Angeles, I've worked with the 99-cent only store. And you can see I have a couple more videos of behind the scenes, time lapse of creating these layouts. It's really great to be on the ground floor and work with a brand on a project from the beginning. That's not always the case. Sometimes I'm brought in to execute a vision, but if I can be part of the creative process, that works great for me. 99 Cent Only Store was a partner with LAFC. So we organized product in their logo, and then that was showcased on the side of their stadium. And then the largest scale project for a 99 Cent Only Store was organizing over 10,000 items for a Guinness World Record at the Rose Bowl on the field. And this was months of planning and working with the team. There was something like 50 people that were helping organize the product overnight to create these numbers and these letters. I shot it with a drone, and it was one of the most fulfilling projects I've been a part of. Where do you go from there once you've organized 12,000 items in a stadium? For me, it was photographing one item at a time and arranging it in post afterwards. I've worked directly with Postmates. I've worked with some of their partners like Sweetfin. I've worked with a local coffee shop called Minotti's. It's something I love to do, keeping your eyes moving around the entire composition, filling the screen. I guess I'd call it a wallpaper. So as you can see, going from shooting something in someone's bag for fun to almost 15 years later, and I'm still organizing and knolling items. It's a huge part of my life, and it's a huge part of my passion. I'm so happy and fortunate to be able to keep working in this field. Postmates and Howlin' Rays. Another project that I'm really proud to have been a part of was for Postmates and Howlin' Rays. So the idea was to have this campaign shot in a hotel room, which we mocked up completely with the help of our stylist Billy. And we had a great food stylist named Casey. And a lot of work went into setting this up, having all the props, everything. But sometimes, even though you have a main image you're trying to make, you play around, you experiment. And I brought a skull with me, and it was just another little prop. Put the skull in the frame, put the sandwich on the skull. Someone had the idea to put pickles in the eyes, and we just shot this thing in like 10 minutes. It didn't know if it was gonna go anywhere. It wasn't the main shot we were working on. There's no throwaway ideas. Something small can register at a huge scale. At the end of the day, it was the most captivating image that was shot, and that's the one that landed on the billboard. Thanks. Thanks for taking a walk with me through this creator session. I hope it was informative and inspiring. If you have any questions, hit me up on VSCO. I'll leave you with one last personal project. These are photo collages of my daughter, Poppy. This entire last year has been a wonderful whirlwind ride. Raising her has been the most creative adventure yet. I love seeing the world through her eyes. She reminds me to keep an open mind and accept new challenges. Catch you later.